So I just had to make it a little more bright. Even then I had to put 3 more lights up here just to make it look a little believable. I forgot to wash my hair today. Anyway, the previous thing is when you are a TI, and it's weird because when you are an actual TI, you get thrown, and I hate it when people say who is and who isn't a real TI because of different symptoms, and this person has this and they don't have this, and some have V2K, some don't have V2K. They get hit with DEWs, directed energy, like Havana syndrome. And Mark Dice is a conservative commentator, but whether conservative or liberal, he did a good job comparing the two of Havana syndrome and showing the patterns to target individuals, how the shit's real. People used to complain about being target individuals and saying this to an empty choir. People were just, whatever. But then Havana syndrome for 4 or 5 years came out. And in my case, I just knew since about 1986 or 80, in that time I was getting hit with these side things. And, whether, in high school and in Bible college, I think the doctor in Bible college said, do you have bowel movements? I didn't know what bowel movements meant. It's like, do you shit? It's like, oh, well, yeah, he thought it was gas. But again, years, every single day, just constantly, it felt like necrotic, and it got worse. My doctor, we tried TENS units and everything, and at least he sent me to some specialists and some pain, and gave me some medicine. Thank goodness for him. I'd say top few people in the world I'm thankful for is, for them for at least doing that. But of course, in 2015, when they're getting rid of all quit prescribing everything because of this onslaught, then they tried to, quit prescribing. So then you have to do other whatever. And now fentanyl's out there. So anyway, it's important to realize when you are a TI, our government, and we just went through the biggest fuck storm. Forgive me for my language, please, but it's realization that our government really doesn't give a sweaty rats about any of you. It doesn't even care about its own reputation, because what are you going to do? What am I going to do? The biggest scare tactic that's ever happened is January 6th. I think one protester was killed and a couple guards through a stroke or heart, but those protesters weren't, none of them shot any of the Capitol. They got a little violent, some of them. But the thing is, they literally made this thing. Moderna had a patent for this vaccine before the virus even was, that type of virus was in 2019 when it came out. According to that video, Moderna was making a patent for the vaccine in 2017, and then 3 days later, after it was announced in China, then Pfizer 3 days after. How did they come up with this instant 3 days after, and they were making tests on it? Anyway, I could be a little dumb on the details, but it's important to realize nobody lost their job. If I fucked up, if I did a manslaughter, if I did something to one person, not only would I not lose my job, I would be in prison. I don't care if I was in it for 10 years, 20, 30 years. And if my boss told me not to do something and I did it anyway, I would be out of a job and probably in prison. I can hear my V2K saying right now, oh, he's not scared. And it's just like, I'm not so brave or anything. It's nothing like that. It's just they literally have done enough dues for the last few decades to where lots of emotion just doesn't come to me. They have done that to me. And they try all these little tricks of the trade and all these little gang stalking and street theater. And it's not that I'm not tough. It's not that. It's just they literally have zapped a lot of the ability for that type of emotion. And when you're in pain with that, you get bummed, you get depressed, you get sad. And that's where I think a lot of women who are target individuals who get hit with dues in the heart after a traumatic event or the loss of a spouse or something sad. They get hit with these dues, and suddenly it becomes broken heart syndrome. I don't know if it's called Tatsuyatsu's disease, or in Japanese, it was finally diagnosed in the 90s. But women and men have been having heart issue, people love broken relationships, people passing, dying. But suddenly in the 90s, there's a diagnosis for broken heart syndrome, and it's mainly women. And as a person who knows that feeling, because I was for 30 years after broke my arm, separated my shoulder in a high school football practice, and they fixed it, been pretty good with that. But then within some months, getting these zaps in Dallas, Oregon, not Texas. And then frequently, just zap. And then it became like a necrotic condition. And you can see now that when you have V2K and synthetic telepathy, you realize now I'm like, what is he on? It's because I don't have a lot of emotional, what's he on? Why does he keep going? What? You just hear it. Guy and a girl voice. It's always the same. And it could be that all the videos of TIs that they give to me, because I literally only have that, they float in the algorithm my way about 8, maybe 10 TIs. I could look harder than some people, but for the thousands that are supposed to be, or millions, I think I've only seen one gang stalker admit to being a gang stalker. The guy in the store. Yeah, I'm a gang stalker. They need to do their homework. And there's people that are either get drunk and admit to things all the time. They should do a better job of trying to find people admitting, making it look a little bigger, I mean, I think unless all the sheriffs in Republican counties really want to admit they have no integrity, all this family values stuff. There's one Jones, I think. God bless him for doing that. But is there really only one sheriff in the United States that knows about this, that does this or has done this? Is there only 2 FBI people, Sosby and Gunderson? If we do, then America deserves every bad, shitty thing. I don't care how Christian they claim to be. I studied to be a minister. And if I treated one person, whether a friend or just a stranger, with torture to the point of, and I had never hurt anybody, then it tells me either their politics or their religion. If they torture people trying to turn a person into becoming more religious, and I had OCD scrupulosity with, I was always thinking religious stuff or humanistic, comparing the two. But there's really no sheriffs that'll just admit what is non-disclosure. Oh, I got money and I signed a piece of paper because I want to keep my money. And so you'll screw over thousands of people, if not millions. It's like people getting non-disclosures about the pandemic. The science shows one thing, but we're going to change our mind instantly once, we're not going to say anything to contradict it because we got paid, we got this contract. And when science, the CDC, can't make up its mind on masks, when it can't make up its mind on 6 feet, 3 feet, 10 feet. Is this the year 2020? Is it the year 35? Is Jesus walking around somewhere? His disciples? Is there, I guess the only thing that's missing, all this technology and everything, is honesty. And people willing to say the truth, stick their neck out. Normally, you wouldn't have to stick your neck out for just saying the truth, for what's honest. It's the people that lie and cover up stuff that would have to feel fear because they're the ones sticking their neck out. I don't care how religious a person claims to be. I don't care how much of a scientist. I had studied religious apologetics since I was 13. When Francis Collins and Fauci, Protestant, Catholic, whatever, it doesn't matter. They cover both bases. When they are willing to cover up the evidence because their career's in it and risk the lives of millions of people, and not just risk them, millions are dead and millions more injured and families traumatized. But their reputation, their legacy. And I say Fauci because it happens that his wife, Obama put in charge of her and like 10 other people of looking into the bioethics department. And she was in charge of finding subjects for experimentation. And, I know me, this DEW stuff happened to me, when I was a teenager. I certainly didn't sign my rights away as a 15-year-old. And even if they, for adults who, nobody would knowingly sign for something like this. It's not just signing, it's consent. It's knowing what you're getting yourself into. Using scientific big words or in Latin or English is not going to cover the bases. But I'm saying this about women with, I don't know, I haven't gotten people, I think this is so way off the algorithm, or the Fusion Center is just not putting these videos out there, because it's the same names. It's the same people that keep getting floating my way. And anyway, I don't care so much about this. I just know after 30 some odd years at that time, I went 30 years of not knowing what caused it. And I wouldn't have known it, except I got V2K. And I didn't even know what V2K was. I just knew somebody was doing the thing with the voices through the wall and then through the floorboard. And I knew somebody was messing with me, but I didn't have any enemies. I was nice to everybody. And I thought in Dallas, everybody was pretty nice. I didn't have enemies. I didn't have people that I looked down upon. I thought City Hall was good people, police, good people. Doctors, I was pretty appreciative and thankful that I didn't have any enemies. And, but for 30 years, not knowing that, I was their joke. They were, part of this non-disclosure and, paying. It's like being given, people knowingly giving you an illness, a sickness, and not telling you. And then you have to pay for the medication for that sickness your whole life. And then you find out when you're 45 or 50 that you shouldn't have had it in the first place. You shouldn't have been sick. You shouldn't have been in pain. It's just the people in your town and the government wanted to use you as a guinea pig. But they're very religious people. They're very conservative. And I don't care, liberal or conservative. But when they claim, I don't care if they're secular humanist or evangelistic, evangelists. I don't care. Protestant, Catholic, if you're a person torturing another person or just shutting your mouth and keeping quiet to cover it up, torture. It's like the people that when World War II broke out and the people of the town where they had Auschwitz, and the people of the town had to walk through and look what they allowed and see, this is what you allowed in your town. This is what you allowed. It's like that movie, The Changeling, Angelina Jolie, where the police felt the pressure to find a missing kid, and they gave her it's a true story, an actor to play her the part of her boy, and told her, no, this is your boy. And by them covering it up, they allowed a child serial killer let loose to just kill tons of kids until more kids and more kids. And then it became embarrassing. And this is going to be the biggest, I don't care how religious, conservative, liberal, Democrat, or Republican, which is straight with the elephant on the Republican, because all those stars on the Republican elephant are pentagrams. Strange, but look it up. They're all pentagrams. The Democrats have the normal looking, but they're not any better. They might as well change their stars to pentagrams too, because when it came to the pandemic, none of the senators, none of the congressmen suddenly said, this is horrible. I got to warn my people. And when it comes to target individuals, it's like the NSA. We've had Snowden. We've had the one that became a lady, and I'm sorry to her, Manning, Chelsea Manning. Thousands, I think 10,000, I don't know how many, but thousands of people in these intelligence and NSA jobs, but only two are, and John Kiriakou, maybe 3 or 4, probably 10 people out of thousands that decided the American people were worthy of knowing the truth. They decided right and having knowledge was more important than their own personal paycheck. And now I don't know, maybe there have been more, but it's just, it could have been the NSA has, obviously, as a TI, they can do so much to cover up stuff. Even when you think the information's getting out online, they can just shut it down in a second and make a person think that they're getting good job on your comments and all that kind of stuff. And ultimately, it's just a fusion center. So I hope this does get out to real people. I hope that for women who are diagnosed, or men with that chest pain, I'm very thankful to Dr. Matt Arnegard, or Aaron, Ella Free, Meigs, John Christiana, the people that FFTI, Frank Allen, PAX International, Derek, the people that brought the message out there about TIs, Ventura, Jesse Ventura, Derek Robinson, the people that brought the message out there, that we're just guinea pigs according to our government. It doesn't matter how nice or if you make mistakes. I've never hurt anybody. I literally tried to find a reason or anybody that I made an enemy in my life, and I couldn't find anything. And yet I was still trying. Maybe I did something bad. And it's like, no, I really hadn't. I was just a guinea pig. And so it's just, they do it to people sometimes for no reason and left a person squandering. See, all they do, they hit a person as torture, guinea pig, and then people with our own stuff in our minds, we can internalize that pain. And is God trying to tell me something, And as a person who studied to be a minister, I believe from fine tuning that God exists, and from free will that we have, or our souls that interact with brains and bodies and nervous systems. So life after death, yes, free will proves there's a soul or a spiritual element, and fine tuning, I believe, shows a designer, whether you call it one of the religions or a philosophical, Anyway, I'm not going to go off on that tangent. Sometimes it's just when you go through that pain, and you realize it's your government and the people in your own town are doing it to you, and to have an answer is very, trust me, 30 years of not knowing, and just like thinking, Lord, will you, and in heaven, will you tell me what's doing this? What's causing it? What is doing this? And then after 30 years, finally, the internet, and then the Myron May stuff, and Ella Free, and Dr. Matt, and the groups, and the videos, and it's like, oh shit, this wasn't accidental. They did this on purpose. And it wasn't like an accidental one-time whoops, like a car crash. They're doing it all the time to me. They could stop it and could have told me the truth any day for the last 30 years. Anybody of them. And I was their fucking joke. But they're very religious and Republican. I don't care if they're humanist and Democrat, or religious Democrat, I don't care. You just look upon them, and whenever they speak about ethics or family values, but it's like John Wayne Gacy. He could be nice to 99 people, but if he goes home and tortures and has one person in his basement that he, just for shits and giggles, tortures somebody with a stun gun, that one person still makes, and that person dies, that person is still a murderer. I don't care if they heal and help out 99 people. If they purposely do something like that, torture one child or a teenager, an adult who especially did nothing wrong to them, they're still a torturer. They're still a murderer. And I hope it can inspire some anger. Now, I think anger, this is not going to sound very Christian of me, but I don't care. I think this, whatever spirit means being honest, spiritual means being honest with your feelings. And what little I do have, I know that they're there, and it's anger. And that's because I finally know, and I know they could have done this, and they could have stopped this years ago. And all that religious talk, all that do the right thing stuff. I don't care if they watch CNN or Fox News. I don't care. I don't care if they watch 700 Club. They're being part of this, and they took money to stay quiet, or fell into the peer pressure. This could hurt other people in high positions. This could hurt other sheriffs, and so don't narc on them. Yes, let the torture keep going. Let the torture just keep going. They're making a torture device, or already have made it, and they're doing it to more people, and are trying to finesse a new way to make it to where they don't get caught. It's like, it's Havana syndrome. It's a mysterious country. It's Cuba. It's China. It's, even the CIA guy said, we now know it's not a foreign government. And Leslie Stahl or whoever on 60 Minutes, well, who is it then? No, she didn't ask that. If it's not a foreign government, well, then what government's doing it? It's our own. TIs have known that it's our own government, and our own government seemingly gives it or sells it to Japan and China and Russia. And it's just like Wuhan. It's not like one country at war with another. They help each other with these intelligence agencies, including in making a poisonous virus to kill people. And then they act like their enemies, like, oh, they did it. They did it. As far as I'm concerned, they both did it, and they covered up for each other. And then they do this little charade for the rest of us, like Fox News and CNN. They gripe up their side to be against the other side. Every group needs a devil to hate, so that they'll blame the devil and not blame the people. Be mad at some other group of people, and don't be mad at the people in charge, because it's actually both Republican and Democrat. And both sides will claim it's the other side, their elites. It's those elites on their side. And it's actually both. They're covering up for themselves, and that's all it is. Unless the shit gets too big, like the Hollywood producer, they'll keep covering it up until it gets too big and the shit's then it's like suddenly out of the woodwork. Boom. And that's why I'm glad for Dr. Matt and Ella. And that outdoor stuff is really the best thing. And even at the White House, the bioethics was great. I don't know how many were official, real, and I won't go into all that, but at least they had that on tape, the bioethics thing in 2011 and 2012. And Dr. Matt and Ella and the group FFTI, outdoors, and these groups that put it on TV and tape and internet, and God bless them. Because for me, it spent 30 years. And it's, even though people might think anger is a bad emotion, it's nice to realize what caused it. It's nice to be able to realize the truth. Because not knowing is the worst feeling. It's like when bad things happen to good people, Harold Kushner, not knowing is just it's horrible. To find out, and then the anger, at least it gives you some cause. So I did what I can do. I put about 35 posters or papers, showing the target individual thing in Portland around Salem. I advertised the Ella Free Rally in Salem. This is like in 2019. About 35 little posters around the Salem downtown area. And that's the last I heard of that. But I've been making these videos. So if you're a TI, or I'm sure it's probably, I'm sure the Fusion Center's watching it, because anyway. I hope you guys have a good day. It's almost 7, and my mom's going to be here around 7:30, so I'm going to make her some birthday. Well, in a couple days, but whatever. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys later, okay? This is Alan. I'll talk to you later. Bye. There it is.